Hey, Sean here with Fox Fury. Today we are going to go over kind of the roll cage spec that I decided to go with, and then we'll also, I think we'll just do a time lapse of the leveling of the car, which is a pretty important step. So let me turn the camera around and kind of show you the different specs for the roll cages. I wanted to go over the type of chassis certification or type of roll cage that I'm going to do. So I could have gone, to meet my goals, I could have gone with this 25.5 spec cage, SFI spec cage, and that's good down to 7.5 seconds in the quarter mile and a 3,600 pound vehicle. So then I started doing a little bit more research. Well, I found out that this 25.3 and 25.2 cages, which the cages are identical. The only difference between the two of those cages is the weight of the vehicle. So this figure here is wrong. It's I believe 650. Well, actually, and they certified a different number. So the 25.3 is the same as the 25.2, except the 25.3 is going to certify to a 650 to 749, I believe, and 3,600 pound maximum weight. The 25.2 is going to certify down to the 6-second mark, as long as the weight of the car is less than 3,200 pounds. So basically these two cages are exactly the same. I think this print off is just wrong right here. Just as long as the weight of the cars is less than 3,200 pounds, it can certify down to the 25.2. And what I have here is a SFI book. I don't know if it's coming through there. Let's see. Yeah, so I have this SFI book for the SFI spec 25.3 spec. So that's the cage that I'm putting together. The only difference between the 25.3 and the 25.2, or sorry, 25.5 cage, as we can see here, it's, I believe, 6 additional gussets on a 25.2, 25.3, and 1 additional bar across the top of the roll cage. So if I can try to find that within the book. So one of these books is definitely something you should get. I think they're, 40, 50 bucks, something like that. But it's an important book to get, because if you build this cage out and then take it to your NHRA certification individual and they fail you for something you should have caught in this book while building it, then you're going to be kicking yourself, because that's a pretty important thing. Well, I don't need to go through this, I guess. I did kind of want to show that, but here we go. So this is showing the roof. I think it's this bar, this 41A bar, or else it might be one of these two bars. Is the additional bar over the 25.5. And then I believe a couple of these gussets that wouldn't have been there unless you do have this additional bar. So like 2 gussets here, I think 2 in the windows, that's 4, and then I think there's 2 additional gussets on the door bars of the cage. So you can maybe kind of see a little bit better here. Not really. Anyway, so just for the additional weight of maybe 4, 5, 6 pounds, you get a lot more safety, and you can certify your car down to much faster speeds, which I'm never really going for that, but I think I'll have an additional safety, and I'll be able to certify my vehicle down to the 25.2 because in order to get to the kind of speeds that I want to get to, the 7.5 seconds, 7 seconds, I want to do, I'll only be making about 1,000 horsepower, 1,100 horsepower at the crank, so the car is going to need to be really light. And so it'll easily fit into this 3,200 pound maximum weight limit for the 25.2 cage. I think, my goal is to have a race weight of 2,500 pounds. So we'll see how far I get there. Next, I think I'll bring the camera over to look at the actual floor structure and kind of how the cage goes together. So this is the floor structure alone for the car. I guess I'll kind of point out a few things here and then maybe get a different camera and zoom in on some of the pieces. So this piece is they call it the 6C component, and I'll show you later, but it's etched in here. You know what, let me bring it up here now so you can kind of hopefully see this. Let's see. So it's laser etched right in there, 6C. Every bar on here is laser etched, and then also, let me show you another thing here. So every bar is laser etched with kind of the same numbers as that SFI book was showing, and then additional to that, let's see if I can find a good, yeah, this one. Additional to that, Outlaw Chassis Fab has laser etched in basically the outline of where tubes are supposed to interface. There's supposed to be a tube that comes in here like that, right generally where this laser etching is. And so that makes this kit really nice. So it's labeled. You can go back to your SFI book and see, okay, yeah, that tube is generally supposed to go there. And that's how I kind of put this together. So I looked at that SFI book, and then I just kind of laid everything out on the ground here. I taped a few things, and then just to get an idea of how this thing's put together. So what I was going to say about this 6C bar is I'll have to look into the SFI book a little bit more, but I believe there's some leeway in where I place that, front to back. So I can't really push it back any farther. Maybe a little bit, but there's some leeway as far as where I can put this relative to the front of the vehicle. So the front of the vehicle is towards me, and the back of the vehicle is back that way. And the reason that I believe there is some leeway in placing this is this isn't the transmission for it, but I guess I can kind of lift this over here and show you generally. Oh, good Lord, that's a bad decision. Okay, so let's say the transmission ends up, I don't know, here for example, and you can see there's some bolt holes here, and you want to build a transmission mount that mounts to here. So you might want to move this tube right underneath there and build your transmission mount right there. So I believe there's some leeway in where you can place that due to your transmission layout. And then what I'm going to do after I build this, lay out my transmission and everything, get the transmission mount going, what I'm going to do is chop off, here and on the other side, and put a bolted flange here, so that anytime in the future that I need to just remove the transmission, I can unbolt from here, and without even taking off the transmission mount, I can just get this whole bar out of the way and drop the transmission down. So that's kind of where I think I'm going to go with that. So for this part of the video, I think I've kind of just showed what the cage looks like, or what the floor structure looks like, kind of why I went with the 25.2, 25.3 design. It's only like 6 extra little tubes, so why not? And then next part of the video, I am going to show a very crucial part of the build process, which is leveling the car and preparing to put in tube number 1. Tube number 1 being this guy here. So a lot of the tubes, there's like probably 3 or 4 main tubes that need to be aligned perfectly to the car. This is the first one to go in. Number 1 tube is the first one to go in. Kind of makes sense. So once I get the car level, as perfectly level as I can, I will put the level that I use to level the car in the same orientation. So say I leveled the car with the level in this orientation. I'm not going to flip it around 180 degrees and try to measure this tube, or try to make sure this tube is level with it that way. I need to make sure the level is in the same orientation on this tube as the car, so that, you know, this tube is as level as it can be, and the car is as level as it can be, and they both kind of match. So it's real important, I think, the first steps of leveling the car, because the whole cage builds off of that. And so small errors can compound into large errors, and so the leveling, which is the next part of this video, I'll probably do a time lapse or something, is really important. Let's get to that.
Bright light skyline, city moves all the times. In the now we are vast. Energy time, feel a light shine. Look to the sky, ready to fly high. Ready to fly high, high. Ready to fly high, high. Feel the light shine. Look to the sky, look to the sky. Right. Ready to fly high, high, high. Ready to fly, ready to fly high, high. Ready to fly high, high. Ready to fly high, high.
Pretty sure the video cut out. So I walked around a whole bunch. I ended up cutting the, what do you call it? The parallel tubes that are going across the door frames. And ended up cutting those down to slip inside of the door frame there, so that they're not sitting on the pinch well, because the pinch wells left to right are not the same. And so I did that initially because I was getting some inconsistencies with the front. Was showing it was off, let's say, to the left, and the rear was showing it was off to the right, so it didn't make sense. So I think that one of the pinch welds was a little bit higher on the left side than the right side, and so that it was throwing off the measurements. But once I cut them down, the measurements turned out to be, or the levelness was, at least in the same direction on the front tube compared to the rear tube there. So I was able to raise the right side of the car up a little bit, and then bring the level in. And I was just trying to state, before I realized that the recording stopped, I was just trying to say that the levelness now is within a half of a tenth of a degree, so 0.05 degrees out is the maximum that the car is right now. So if I place all the tubes within 0.05 plus or minus, I can't be any more than a tenth of a degree off when I build the car. And so some of that's going to be just lining it up with the level, and then some of it's going to be, lining it up with the level and then just doing a sanity check. Oh, does that even look right? So that's where we are now. The car's level, and now we're waiting on some of the mounting plates that are going to weld to the rockers. I'm going to also order some Clecos to mount those rocker panel plates in temporarily, so that I don't have to be tack welding it and then breaking the tacks, and then you'll never get it back into the same spot. So I'll just use the Clecos, which can get it back into the same spot. Basically, a Cleco is a temporary rivet, and we'll go over that when we get to it. I don't know anything about this stuff, but I am kind of learning along the way. So enjoy the video, like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell notification, all of that stuff. We'll see you in the next video.